Okay, so somewhere they said in a world there's one. Some of the well, see, here's the thing. I was given the word human, Human. I don't know if it's a lacrimal or if it is a deviate septum, but actually, I'm sorry, I don't know if it's a sinusoidal differential in visual inspection. But the man with lapel human on it, someone had to put somebody in charge of the criminally insane elsewhere in the world. Somewhere on aerial footage of thin air process, somebody can queue up where he exists as it relates to my very real position at the moment. I was born and gifted with a very special talent and set of tools. It was written in several scriptures of the most holiest places and people. They say the Westerners, but it depends on which way west they're going, because if Italy is kicking a boot, being to my east, then I am to the west. But if I'm staring up at the spotlight called the moon, the lunar in the sky, then they would actually be to my west. So it is where you're looking, honestly. West east doesn't really matter as it pertains for this whatever tool set. So now the danger was written in the script as well, about flying rugs. Somebody was clever and put a capital D in front of the flying rug problem and made it drug. Then I have a mortician's tool, the moss. Right, it's a rotating blade the mechanics use down at the toe tag when the dog tags are not doing appropriate and they exsanguinate them. They send them to the freezer lockup where the toe tag goes on if you're lucky, if it doesn't go to incinerator based on what area you're in. Right, there's a mortician tool that rotates. They cut the cranium and then they weigh the brains out. It's really gross. I have no idea why they coronated this science and called it mortuary science. It's really gross. I mean, it's a foul practice. I would just put them in an incinerator and call it a day, but whatever. You humans are. So now somebody so I was born with like a whole bunch of like really religious sacred items that are appropriate only for a goddess, or an a closed circuit master on a like definitive plane of like, nope, there's no getting in, right? Got it. Okay. So that's how that works. But for some reason, because I was not going to be riding camels in Jerusalem or camels in Israel or camels in Russia in another part of the world, or I was not going to be wearing something like a scarf for the whole body, which they called Birkenstock, since the two criminally insane religious fanatics anger with one another, so they each participated in a contributory word for one purpose, to anger each other and make fun of each other and neutralize one another in acid in the ear. So there we are with Birkenstock for the moment. Different, by the way, than some voting participants that live on a farm in just north of where my area of Russia is, but you can't get from your camel riding Russia to my area of whatever, but it is, one goes on the feet and the other one's a scarf that goes on the body. So we said it is already too confusing. You may not use this per se it's too sacred. I will not use it in conversation, and you will not use it in your group of criminally insane religious fanatics that war with one another. That's it. I've spoken. That's it. Said that, 1980? Great. So now, why, when that was the case, and they were, I have no way of following up, but I'm sure that on Ariel, it's on a paper somewhere, whether they were defiant or whether they were compliant. So there's a deviate septum somewhere. I think the label of human went on some lapel pin of some respectable to babysit the criminally insane religious fanatics in some form of a game show host is what they made his human into. I mean, I'm Cobra Kai. So I'm the one with the cobra, bodice over here. The snake that comes out of the basket, the the Cobra Kai, Kai, that's what I am. So now, this is the basket that they threw me in as a religious icon and sacred. And they think that this is acceptable in the West and the East. Simultaneously, they're both shoes. One is a flip-flop and one is a stiletto. That's because one child elevated themselves so high in religious fanaticism, they understood things far beyond the concepts of the flip-flop. And the stiletto that had elevated themselves to such lengths were required by customary and law to return my Cobra Kai regardless of my nativity set my tools back to my person. That has yet to happen. I am at 42 years with one part of the process of human with the game show host with lapel bling or pin, whatever, PIN. So there's one script in a foreign land of a respectable overwatching whatever his children are doing. Because while you're playing game show hosts and Quizlet games with your stiletto over inflated ecosystem, I have children elsewhere on a exposed toe flip-flop with snakes trying to bite at their toes, and you're looking not so respectful people in flip-flop territory are coming with cranial saw to get the children, and they can't seem to get out of the way because in this version they're actually so off that, sleeping off, that they are actually asking to have the heads cut open, it would seem. Now, this was the seriousness from which I entered. This problem existed before I got here. Unfortunately, my area they said CIA existed on my seaboard. Unfortunately, my CIA was whatever, unwilling to comment, and my King's Guard Beyond was so gracious in hosting a conversation with the goddess. So, they made special promise to said goddess for speaking to me, regardless of how it happened, and yet they have yet to make good on returning the tools that their whatever has used in a process that is unbefitting anyone, because it is actually harming and taking advantage, regardless of what the sleeping and the brain dead say. They all have their cranium cut off, walking around begging for more problems and hurt, and don't even know it. That's what I call criminally insane. They are the ones that I'm a little more understanding of, not so much the ones who are stealing the tools and lying to law enforcement when they need to come to get the tools, to return them to my person. So I don't understand how you can call yourself a religious fanatic and a holy one, of a stiletto, enlightened, more anything than the flip-flop, when your very action has caused great harm to multiple facility and population, on record, because you will not return the tool to the sacred one for which it was designed and programmed for. This is year 2020. I am Nicole Katarutsa. It is Russia, spelled a little differently. 2 Z's coming out of the basket. For the S's, the Dos Vadonia, the double S that way in the other end of, it's a circle. If you miss one land mass, you'll cross water, come to another land mass. You keep going over that land mass, you'll cross water and hit another land mass. West and East get a little disorienting when speaking to human. Are we clear?